I should have taken the elevator. That single thought looped through my mind as I stood frozen behind a concrete pillar in the parking garage. Beneath my apartment building, my hand clamped over my mouth to muffle my breathing. The fluorescent lights flickered overhead, casting everything in a sickly yellow glow that made the blood pooling on the concrete look black instead of red. There were 3 men, 2 on their knees, hands zip-tied behind their backs, faces bruised and swollen. The third stood over them in a suit that probably cost more than my monthly rent, his expression carved from ice. "You stole from me," he said, his voice low and precise, each word enunciated with deadly calm. "Worse, you thought I wouldn't notice." "Please," one of the kneeling men begged, "we can pay it back." "We can." The gunshot cracked through the garage like thunder. I flinched, my keys slipping from my trembling fingers and clattering against the concrete. The sound echoed like a death knell in the cavernous space. The man in the suit's head snapped toward my hiding spot. Our eyes met across 30 feet of empty parking garage, and something in my chest seized. He was beautiful in the way dangerous things are beautiful, sharp jawline, dark eyes that missed nothing, a face that could have been carved by an artist if that artist specialized in depicting fallen angels. "Handle this," he said to someone I couldn't see, never breaking eye contact with me. Then he started walking toward my pillar with measured, unhurried steps. I should have run. Every instinct screamed at me to run. I couldn't move. He stopped 3 feet away, close enough that I could smell his cologne, something dark and expensive that made my head spin. Up close, I could see the thin scar cutting through his left eyebrow, the way his perfectly tailored suit couldn't quite hide the gun holster beneath his jacket. "Emma Torres," he said, and my blood turned to ice. He knew my name. "Apartment 412. You work at the medical center, illustration department. You take the stairs because you're afraid of elevators after getting stuck in one as a child. How do you?" My voice came out as a whisper. "I know everything about everyone in this building." He reached into his jacket, and I pressed harder against the pillar, certain I was about to die. Instead, he pulled out a business card. "My name is Luca Moretti. You're going to take this card, and you're going to forget everything you saw tonight." I took it with shaking fingers. Heavy cardstock, black with silver lettering, just a name and a phone number. "If anyone comes asking questions, police, strangers, anyone, you call me immediately." His eyes bored into mine with an intensity that made it hard to breathe. "Do you understand?" I nodded, not trusting my voice. "Good." He leaned in closer, and I could feel the heat radiating from his body. "Don't make me come looking for you, Piccola. You wouldn't like how that ends." Then he was gone, disappearing into the shadows near the stairwell. Behind him, men in dark clothing were already moving the bodies with efficient, practiced precision, as if corpses were just another item on their to-do list. I made it to my apartment on legs that barely held me, locked every lock, and slid down against the door. The business card felt like it was burning a hole in my pocket. 10 minutes later, I stood over my kitchen trash can, holding Luca Moretti's card. I should keep it. Should follow his instructions. Instead, I tore it into tiny pieces and buried them deep in the garbage. I was a witness to murder. But I was also invisible. I'd spent my whole life being invisible. No one would come looking for me. 3 days later, 2 men in suits walked into the medical center and asked to speak with Emma Torres about an incident in her building. I had no way to call Luca Moretti, and judging by the cold professionalism in their eyes, that was a very big problem. The 2 men didn't look like typical hospital visitors. Their suits were too expensive, their eyes too cold. The way they positioned themselves at the entrance to the illustration department too calculated. One blocked the door while the other approached my desk. "Emma Torres." The taller one's smile didn't reach his eyes. "We need to ask you a few questions about an incident in your apartment building." "Friday night, parking garage." My mouth went dry. "I don't know what you're talking about." "We think you do." He leaned against my desk, invading my space. 2 men went missing that night. Security footage shows you entering the garage around the same time. My coworker Sarah must have noticed my panic because she appeared at my shoulder, her voice sharp. "Who are you? Do you have identification?" The men exchanged glances. "We're following up on a police matter. Then you can speak to building security. Sarah reached for her phone. I'm calling them now. The transformation was instant. The friendly masks dropped, replaced by something far more menacing. That won't be necessary, the tall one said, backing toward the door. We'll be in touch, Miss Torres. Count on it. They disappeared before security arrived. Emma, what was that about? Sarah gripped my arm. Should we call the actual police? No. The word came out too fast, too desperate. It's nothing. Just a misunderstanding. But my hands shook for the rest of my shift. I knew something was wrong the moment I reached my apartment door. It was closed, locked from the outside, but there was a quality to the silence that felt different. Occupied. My keys rattled as I unlocked the deadbolt. The door swung open. Luca Moretti sat at my tiny kitchen table like he owned it, his expensive suit a jarring contrast against my second-hand furniture. His expression was carved from stone, dark eyes tracking my every movement as I stepped inside and closed the door. You threw it away. His voice was dangerously quiet. I gave you one simple instruction, one card with one number, and you threw it away. How did you... I started, but he stood, and the words died in my throat. 2 men came to your workplace today. He moved toward me with predatory grace, asked questions, made threats. And you had no way to call me. I backed against the door. I handled it. You handled it. He stopped inches away, close enough that I had to tilt my head back to meet his eyes. They know where you work, Emma. They know your schedule. They know you live alone. And now they know you're vulnerable. I'm not. The men I killed in that garage were traitors who stole $2 million from my organization. His hand came up to rest against the door beside my head, caging me in. Their associates think you might have seen something useful. Account numbers, names, locations. They will take you apart piece by piece looking for information you don't have. Fear slithered down my spine. So what do you want me to do? I wanted you to call me. To let me protect you quietly, discreetly. His jaw tightened. But you didn't listen. You thought you could ignore this and it would go away. Now you've made this harder for both of us. I can go to the police. The police can't protect you from these people. He pulled out his phone, never breaking eye contact. You had your chance to do this the easy way. He made a call, speaking in rapid Italian. 2 minutes later, a knock sounded at my door. Luca opened it. 2 men entered carrying luggage. My luggage. Suitcases I recognized from my closet, now packed and ready. What did you do? I whispered. What do you force me to do? Luca's expression was implacable. You're coming with me. Tonight. I woke to sunlight streaming through windows I didn't recognize, in a bed far too large and comfortable to be mine. For one disoriented moment, I thought I was dreaming. Then memory crashed back. Luca Moretti. The men with my luggage. The drive through dark streets to an estate that looked more like a fortress than a home. I sat up, my heart hammering. The bedroom was enormous all. Dark wood furniture and cream-colored linens, with floor-to-ceiling windows offering a view of manicured garden. Beautiful windows with decorative iron bars that were definitely functional. The door opened without a knock, and a woman in her 60s entered carrying a breakfast tray. Her silver hair was pulled into a neat bun, her eyes sharp but not unkind. Good morning, Miss Torres. I'm Rosa, Mr. Moretti's housekeeper. She set the tray on the bedside table. He asked me to explain the household rules once you woke. Rules? I threw off the covers, realizing someone had changed me into pajamas I'd never seen before. Where are my clothes? Being laundered. You have a full wardrobe in the closet. Rosa gestured to a door I hadn't noticed. Now the rules are simple. You don't leave the property. You don't make phone calls without approval. You don't go anywhere without an escort. For your safety. My safety. I laughed, the sound brittle. Or my captivity. Rosa's expression softened. I know how this looks. But Mr. Moretti doesn't bring people here unless their lives depend on it. His sister, she stopped, seeming to reconsider. Eat your breakfast. You'll feel better. She left before I could ask what she meant about his sister. I found Luca in his office, a massive room lined with books and dark leather furniture. He looked up from his computer as I stormed in, his expression unreadable. "Let me go." My voice shook with rage. "You can't just kidnap me and call it protection." "I didn't kidnap you. I relocated you to a secure location." He leaned back in his chair, utterly calm. "Sit down, Emma." "I don't want to sit down. I want to go home." "No." The single word was final. "You saw those men yesterday. They're professionals, Emma. Enforcers with histories of making witnesses disappear in very unpleasant ways." He turned his monitor toward me. Crime scene photos filled the screen, bodies mutilated beyond recognition. My stomach lurched. "This is what they do," he said quietly. "This is what they wanted to do to you. So forgive me if I'm not apologetic about keeping you alive." I sank into the chair, legs suddenly weak. "How long?" "Until I neutralized the threat." "Days, maybe weeks." His eyes held mine. "I know you're angry. You've every right to be. But I don't want to keep you here, Emma. I want to keep you breathing." The genuine concern in his voice caught me off guard. This wasn't a man who enjoyed control for its own sake. This was someone trying to prevent something terrible. "I need air," I whispered. "The gardens are secure. Rosa will accompany you." That night, I lay in the unfamiliar bed and made a decision. I wouldn't be a prisoner, no matter how gilded the cage. The window opened easily. He hadn't expected me to try this soon. I climbed onto the ledge, my heart pounding as I judged the distance to the garden below. Maybe 8 feet. Manageable. I was lowering myself down when his voice cut through the darkness. "Climb down slowly. We need to talk about boundaries." Lucas stood in the garden shadows, arms crossed, his expression unreadable in the moonlight. I'd made it exactly nowhere. I expected anger, punishment, something to match the cold authority in his voice. Instead, Luca helped me down from the window ledge, his hands steady on my waist. "Walk with me." We moved through the garden in silence, the night air cool against my flushed skin. Security lights illuminated the grounds in soft pools, revealing the true scope of the estate. Walls, gates, cameras everywhere. "Do you see that?" He pointed to a guard patrolling the far perimeter. "There are 8 men on duty at any given time, another dozen on call. Every entrance is monitored, every movement tracked." He pulled out his phone, showing me a screen filled with thermal signatures, red and orange shapes moving across a digital map of the property. "This is real-time surveillance." He zoomed in on 2 shapes near the front gate. "Those 2 men arrived an hour ago. They've been watching the entrance, looking for weaknesses." He turned the phone toward me. "You think I'm your enemy, Emma? I'm the only thing standing between you and people who will hurt you to send me a message." My defiance wavered. "How long were they out there?" "Long enough." His jaw tightened. "This is why you can't leave. Not because I want to control you, but because the moment you step beyond these walls, you're vulnerable." I stared at the thermal images, watching the 2 shapes circle like predators. I didn't ask for this. Neither did I. Something flickered in his expression. But here we are. The days that followed fell into an unexpected rhythm. Rosa brought me breakfast and stayed to chat, sharing stories about her grandchildren and carefully avoiding questions about Luca's business. I learned she'd worked for him for 12 years, that she'd raised him after his parents died, that she worried about him constantly. "He carries too much," she said one morning as we folded laundry together. "Always trying to protect everyone, never asking for help." I thought about that as I explored the estate, the library full of books in Italian and English, the gym where I found Luca's second-in-command, a scarred man named Dante, working a heavy bag. "Want to learn?" Dante asked, tossing me a pair of gloves. "Learn what?" "How to hit back." Over the next week, he taught me basic self-defense, how to break a hold, where to strike to disable an attacker, how to shoot, though my hands shook the first time I held the gun. "Fear is healthy," Dante said. "It keeps you sharp, but don't let it paralyze you." Each evening, Luca found me. Sometimes in the library, sometimes on the terrace overlooking the gardens. He'd sit, pour 2 glasses of wine, and ask about my day. About my work as a medical illustrator. About the career I'd put on hold when my mother got sick 3 years ago. "You're talented," he said one night, studying the sketches in my portfolio anatomical drawings for medical textbooks. "Why illustration instead of medicine?" I wanted to heal people without having to watch them die. I traced the edge of my wineglass. Art felt safer. Nothing is safe. His eyes held mine. "But some things are worth the risk." The air between us shifted, charged with something I didn't want to name. "Why do you care?" The question escaped before I could stop it. "About me. About any of this. You could have just let those men take me." One less witness. Luca set down his glass, his expression intense. "Because I looked at you that night in that garage, terrified and trying so hard to be brave, and I knew you were going to change everything." My breath caught. "That's insane." "Yes." His smile was dangerous and beautiful. "It is. I found him in a part of the house I'd been told was off-limits. A hallway on the 3rd floor where the air felt different. Heavier. Sadder. The door stood open, and through it I could see Luca standing motionless before a bookshelf, his shoulders rigid. "You shouldn't be here," he said without turning. "I should have left." Instead, I stepped inside. The room was frozen in time. A teenage girl's bedroom posters of Italian singers on the walls. Books in both languages stacked on the desk, a graduation photo on the nightstand. The girl in the picture had Luca's dark eyes and fierce smile. "Your sister," I said softly. "Julia." His voice was rough. "She was 17. Brilliant. Wanted to be a doctor." He picked up the photo, his thumb tracing the frame. "She had nothing to do with my business. Nothing to do with any of it. But they took her anyway." "The same organization," I whispered, understanding dawning. "The men in the garage. She was supposed to be safe. I had guards, protocols, everything." His hand tightened on the frame. "They got to her anyway. Killed her to punish me for expanding into territory they considered theirs. Left her body where I'd find it." The pain in his voice cracked something open in my chest. I moved closer, close enough to see the tension in his jaw, the white knuckle grip on the photo. "That's why you won't let me leave," I said. "You're not trying to control me. You're trying to save me. I failed her." He set the photo down carefully, precisely. "I won't fail you." The confession hung between us, raw and honest. Without thinking, I reached out and touched his hand. His skin was warm, his fingers scarred in ways that told stories I'd probably never hear. He turned to face me, and the intensity in his eyes stole my breath. "You shouldn't trust me, Emma. I've done terrible things. I'll do worse before this is over. I know. And I did. But I also knew that beneath the violence and control was a man carrying unbearable weight." "You're not a monster, Luca. Monsters don't mourn." Something shifted in his expression. He raised his hands slowly, giving me time to pull away, and cupped my face. His thumb traced my cheekbone with devastating gentleness. "You're dangerous," he murmured. "More dangerous than any enemy I've ever faced." "Why?" "Because you make me want things I can't have. Because I look at you and forget why keeping distance is necessary." The air between us crackled with tension. I could feel my pulse hammering, could see the war playing out behind his eyes, desire versus honor, want versus wisdom. "Luca," he kissed me. Not gentle, not tentative. His mouth claimed mine with a hunger that made my knees weak, one hand tangling in my hair while the other pulled me flush against him. I gasped, and he deepened the kiss, tasting like wine and danger and something I'd been craving without knowing it. My hands fisted in his shirt, trying to pull him closer, even though there was no space left between us. Heat flooded through me, erasing every rational thought. Then he pulled away, breathing hard, his forehead resting against mine. "Not like this," he said roughly. "Not while you can't leave. Not while you might think this is gratitude or Stockholm Syndrome or anything other than choice." He stepped back, and I immediately felt the loss of his warmth. "Luca, I won't take advantage of you. Emma, even if it kills me." He walked out, leaving me trembling and aching in his sister's room, surrounded by ghosts, and the taste of him still on my lips. 3 days passed in excruciating tension. Luca avoided me, keeping to his office or leaving the estate entirely. Rosa watched us both with knowing eyes, but said nothing. Dante gave me extra training sessions, probably to burn off the frustration radiating from me. "He's protecting you from himself," Dante said during target practice. "Stupid, but honorable. I don't need protection from him. Don't you?" His scarred face was serious. "Emma, you need to understand what you're getting into. Luca's world isn't just dangerous. It's darkness. Once you're truly in it, there's no going back." I steadied my aim and fired. The target center bloomed with a new hole. Maybe I don't want to go back. Luca found me on the terrace that evening, watching the sunset paint the city below in shades of gold and crimson. He stood beside me in silence for a long moment before speaking. "My people secured the witnesses," he said quietly. "The ones who can testify against the organization. The men who wanted you dead are being arrested as we speak. Federal charges. They'll be locked away for decades." My heart stuttered. "So I'm safe." "Yes." He turned to face me, his expression carefully neutral. "Which means you can leave. I'll have you driven anywhere you want. Your apartment, another city, another state. I'll give you money for a fresh start. New identity if you want it. You'll never have to see me again." The word should have been a relief. Freedom. My life back. Instead, they felt like a death sentence. "What if I don't want to leave?" His control cracked. His hands gripped the terrace railing so hard his knuckles went white. "Don't." "Don't what?" "Don't say that, unless you mean it." He turned to me, and the raw need in his eyes made my breath catch. "Don't stay because you feel grateful or obligated. Don't stay because you've convinced yourself this is Stockholm Syndrome or that you owe me something." He moved closer, his hands coming up to frame my face with trembling fingers. "Don't stay unless you want this. Want me. Want everything that comes with me. The danger, the violence, the darkness. Because if you stay, Emma, I won't let you go. I won't be noble or distant or careful. I will claim every part of you, and I will be selfish and possessive and completely unreasonable about keeping you safe." His forehead touched mine, his breath warm against my lips. "So tell me to take you home. Tell me this was just circumstance and proximity and fear. Tell me to let you go." I thought about my empty apartment, my careful, quiet life, the years I'd spent being invisible, safe, alone. Then I thought about the past weeks. Rosa's laughter in the kitchen, Dante's gruff encouragement, the way Luca looked at me like I was something precious and dangerous all at once, the way he'd kissed me in his sister's room with a hunger that matched my own, the way he'd pulled away to give me choice. "I didn't listen when you told me to call you," I said softly. "I'm not listening now when you tell me to leave." Something broke in his expression, relief and hunger and fear all tangled together. "Emma," I kissed him first this time. His response was immediate and overwhelming. He pulled me against him, one hand tangling in my hair, the other gripping my hip with possessive strength. The kiss was desperate, consuming, months of tension finally igniting. "Mine," he growled against my mouth. "Say it. Yours," I breathed. "Not just your protection, your truth, your darkness, everything." His smile was fierce and beautiful. "Negotiating with me even now, Piccola. Always." That night, Luca led me to his bedroom. "Our bedroom," he corrected, his voice rough with need. The space was masculine and clean, all dark wood and pristine linens, windows overlooking the city lights below. "Last chance," he said, his hands framing my face. "Walk away now, and I'll still let you go." My answer was to pull him down to me. What followed was fire and possession and tenderness all woven together. Luca touched me like he was memorizing every inch, like I might disappear if he wasn't careful. And when he finally claimed me completely, his eyes locked on mine with an intensity that stripped me bare. "Mine," he whispered against my throat, my collarbone, my lips. Say it, Emma. Say you're mine. Yours, I gasped, my fingers digging into his shoulders. Always yours. Afterwards, he held me like I was something breakable and precious, his fingers tracing patterns on my skin. I've wanted you since that night in the garage, he confessed. Watching you try to be brave while terrified. I knew then that you'd ruin me. Good, I murmured against his chest. We can be ruined together. His laugh rumbled through both of us, and he pulled me impossibly closer. I woke to morning light and an empty bed, but voices drifted from somewhere in the suite. Following them, I found a door I hadn't noticed before, now standing open. Inside was a fully equipped art studio. Rosa stood in the center, directing two men who were installing the last of the equipment. A professional drafting table sat near the windows, natural light flooding the space. Cabinets lined the walls, already stocked with supplies. A top-of-the-line computer system gleamed on the desk. What is this? I whispered. Luca appeared behind me, wrapping his arms around my waist. Your studio, you said you put your career on hold. Don't anymore. On the desk sat a stack of documents contracts with medical publishers, consultation agreements with hospitals, all with my name on them, all arranged by him. Luca, this is too much. Nothing is too much for you. He pressed a kiss to my temple. But there's one more thing. He handed me a phone. New, expensive, already programmed with numbers. Call your family, he said quietly. Your friends. Tell them you're safe. I won't keep you from your life, Emma. I want to be part of it. My throat tightened. The card. Your real number. Already programmed. First contact. His smile was genuine, though I expect you to actually use it this time. I turned in his arms, rising on my toes to kiss him. Thank you. Don't thank me yet. You haven't seen the security detail I'm assigning. Luca, non-negotiable. You're mine to protect now. I was about to argue when the phone in my hand rang. Unknown number. I almost didn't answer, but something made me press accept. Hello? The voice on the other end was cold, unfamiliar. Tell Moretti his security isn't as good as he thinks. We know about you now, and we're coming for what's ours. The line went dead. Luca's expression transformed instantly, the tender lover replaced by something lethal. He took the phone, his jaw tight as he examined the call log. Rosa, get Dante, now. His arm tightened around me. Emma, listen to me very carefully. That threat you thought was neutralized. It wasn't the whole organization. Just one cell. What does that mean? His eyes met mine, dark with promise and danger. It means this isn't over. The attack came at 2 a.m. I woke to the sound of gunfire, sharp cracks that shattered the night's silence. Luca was already moving, pulling me from the bed with one hand while grabbing his gun with the other. Panic room. Now. His voice was hard, controlled. No room for argument. He practically carried me down the hallway, Rosa appearing from her quarters, her face pale but calm. Dante met us at a hidden door I'd never noticed, already armed and speaking rapidly into a radio. 12 hostiles, professional entry team. South perimeter breached. Another burst of gunfire, closer this time. Glass shattered somewhere below. The panic room was reinforced steel disguised as a wine cellar. Luca shoved me inside with Rosa, his eyes meeting mine for one fierce moment. Stay here. Don't open this door for anyone but me or Dante. Luca, he kissed me hard and fast. I will come back for you. I promise. Then the door sealed shut, and I was left in artificial silence. The sounds of battle muffled to distant thunder. Rosa held my hand as we listened. Minutes stretched into hours. My imagination filled every sound with horror. Luca bleeding, dying, gone. He survived worse, Rosa said quietly, but I could hear the fear beneath her calm. Then silence. Complete and terrible. The door lock disengaged with a heavy click. I grabbed the gun Dante had left on the table, my hands surprisingly steady as I aimed at the entrance. Luca stepped through, and relief nearly buckled my knees. Then I saw the blood. It soaked his white shirt, splattered across his face and hands. His eyes were dark with controlled violence, every inch of him radiating lethal purpose. "It's not mine," he said immediately, reading my expression. "Most of it isn't mine." Rosa pushed past me to examine a gash on his shoulder. "You're hurt. 2 guards are wounded. Carlos took a bullet to the leg. Marco has a concussion." Luca's jaw tightened. They knew exactly where to hit us. Had blueprints, patrol schedules, everything. "A leak," Dante said from behind him, his face grim. "Or very good surveillance." Luca's eyes found mine. "This is what my world looks like, Emma. This is what I tried to protect you from. They came into my home, endangered my people, put you at risk." He moved closer, and I could see the war in his expression. Rage and fear, and something that looked like regret. "This is why you should go. Why you should have left when I gave you the chance. Because this will happen again. They'll keep coming, keep trying to hurt me through the people I—" He stopped, his control fracturing. "Through you." I set down the gun and crossed to him, my hands finding his blood-stained face. He flinched, as if expecting me to recoil. Instead, I pulled him down until our foreheads touched. "This is why I'm staying," I said firmly. "You don't face this alone anymore, Luca. You think I can walk away now? After everything? They came for me. They attacked our home. Our people. Emma. No." My voice strengthened. "You told me once that I was yours to protect. Well, you're mine too. And I don't abandon what's mine." Something in his expression shifted, fear giving way to something fierce and proud. "Then we end this," he said quietly. "Permanently. We go after their leader, cut the head off the snake. We," I repeated. "Not just you. I'm part of this now." His smile was dangerous and beautiful. "You're sure, Piccola? There's no going back from this. I've never been more sure of anything." "Show me everything," I said, standing over Luca's desk covered in surveillance photos and documents. "Every piece of intelligence you have on their leader." Dante raised an eyebrow. "Emma, I'm a medical illustrator. I've studied anatomy for years, drawn surgical procedures, identified injuries from descriptions. I picked up a crime scene photo, forcing myself not to flinch at the brutality. Scars tell stories. Let me read them." Luca studied me for a long moment, then nodded. He spread out dozens of photos, grainy surveillance images of a man always photographed from behind or in shadow, deliberately obscuring his face. "But you couldn't hide everything. There." I pointed to an image showing the man's hand on a car door. "See that scar pattern on his wrist? That's from surgical pins, probably compound fracture repair. And here," I pulled up another photo showing a glimpse of his neck. "Thyroidectomy scar, partially concealed but visible in certain light." I grabbed paper and started sketching, my hands moving with practiced precision. Based on the scarring bone structure and the way he moves, favoring his left side slightly, I can build a composite. Over the next hour, I worked while Luca and Dante cross-referenced my observations with their intelligence. The man who emerged from my sketches was in his 50s, lean, with cold eyes and a face that had seen violence. "Cristo," Dante breathed. "That's Salvatore Conti! We've been looking for him for 3 years, you're sure?" Luca asked, his eyes on my sketch. "The scars don't lie." I set down my pencil. "That's your man." Luca's expression was unreadable. "You just gave us what a dozen investigators couldn't." I met his gaze steadily. "Now tell me how we use it." The plan was simple and completely insane. Conti wanted to use me to hurt Luca, so we'd give him the opportunity. A carefully leaked message about my daily routine, a vulnerable window in security, and bait, too tempting to resist. "I don't like this," Luca said for the 10th time as Dante fitted me with a wire. "Too many variables. You'll have eyes on me the entire time." I touched his face, feeling the tension in his jaw. "Trust me, Luca. Trust that I'm strong enough for this. I know you're strong. That's not what I'm afraid of." "Then what?" His hand covered mine. "Losing you. After everything, After finally having the thought of anything happening to you, quotes, nothing will happen. You'll be there. The meet was set for a warehouse near the docks. I walked in alone, my heart hammering but my hands steady. Conti stood in the center of the empty space, flanked by 4 armed men. Up close, he matched my sketch perfectly. The cold eyes, the scars, the predatory stillness. Miss Torres. His voice was cultured, almost gentle. You've caused me considerable trouble. Good, I said, surprising myself with the steadiness in my voice. You attacked my home. Hurt people I care about. He smiled. Such fire. I can see why Moretti wants you. Unfortunately, you're more valuable to me as leverage than as a person. Is that what you told yourself about his sister, too? The smile vanished. Julia Moretti was a message. You'll be a negotiation. No. Luca's voice cut through the warehouse as he emerged from the shadows, his men materializing from every entrance. She'll be the reason you die tonight. Conti moved fast, yanking me against him, a knife appearing at my throat. One step closer, and I opened her neck. But Dante had taught me well. I drove my elbow into his solar plexus, twisted away from the blade, and swept his legs exactly as I'd been shown. He went down hard. Luca's gun was already drawn, aimed steadily at Conti's head. She's not a victim, I said, my voice ringing clear. And neither is he. We're partners. You came after us thinking we were weak. You were wrong. Conti's eyes widened as Luca's men surrounded him. This ends now, Luca said quietly. You'll answer for Julia, for tonight, for every person you've hurt. The warehouse erupted in controlled chaos as Conti's men were subdued. Through it all, Luca's eyes never left mine. When it was over, when Conti was restrained and his organization dismantled, Luca found me shaking with adrenaline. You were magnificent, he said, pulling me into his arms. I was terrified. But you didn't let it stop you. He kissed my forehead. You stood beside me, as an equal. Always, I whispered. 6 months later, I stood in front of a mirror, adjusting the deep green dress Luca had insisted on buying me for tonight's charity gala. My reflection showed a woman I barely recognized, confident, radiant, whole. So different from the terrified witness in a parking garage, who'd thrown away a business card and tried to pretend she'd seen nothing. You're beautiful, Rosa said from the doorway, her eyes misty. He's waiting for you downstairs. My medical illustration business had exploded in ways I'd never imagined. Consultations with 3 major hospitals, a contract for a textbook series, and a steady stream of clients who valued my expertise. I'd even hired 2 assistants. All of it built on my own merit, my own talent. Luca had given me the space and security to thrive, but the success was mine. Downstairs, Luca waited in the foyer wearing a tuxedo that made my mouth go dry. His eyes tracked me as I descended, dark and possessive and full of promise. Stunning, he murmured, pulling me close for a kiss that threatened to make us late. We could skip the gala entirely. We're hosting it, Luca. We can't skip our own charity event. His smile was wicked. We could be very late. Behaved, I laughed, but kissed him again anyway. The gala was held at the our estate now, though I'd insisted on redecorating several rooms to make it truly ours. The gardens glittered with lights, and the house overflowed with the city's elite, all here to support medical research in Julia's name, a foundation I'd helped establish, a legacy that honored Luca's sister by saving others. Dante found us near the bar, uncomfortable in formal wear, but loyal enough to endure it. The foundation raised $2 million tonight, he said quietly. Julia would have loved this. Luca's hand tightened on mine. She would have loved Emma. Later, a politician's wife cornered us with champagne and curiosity. You two are such an intriguing couple. How did you meet? I glanced at Luca, seeing the corner of his mouth twitch. It's quite a story. He looked at me and told me not to make him come looking for me, I said, my smile matching his. I didn't listen. Best mistake she ever made, Luca added, his arms sliding around my waist with clear possession. The woman laughed, not understanding the truth beneath our words, not knowing about violence and fear and choice. about two people who'd found each other in darkness and built something beautiful from the wreckage. After midnight, when the last guests departed, we stood on the terrace overlooking the city lights. The same terrace where he'd given me the choice to leave or stay, where I'd chosen him. "Any regrets?" he asked, pulling me against his chest. "None." I turned in his arms, my hands finding his face. "You saved me, Luca." "No, Piccola." He pressed a kiss to my forehead. "You saved yourself. I just made sure you had the space to do it. Then we saved each other." His smile was soft, genuine, the smile he saved only for me. "I love you, Emma Torres. My fierce, brilliant, stubborn woman who refuses to listen when I give her orders. I love you too." I rose on my toes to kiss him. My dangerous, protective, impossibly possessive man who threatens consequences and delivers promises instead. "Mine," he whispered against my lips. "Yours," I whispered back. "Always yours." "And I'm yours," he said. The words a vow. Forever. Below us the city sprawled in endless light. Behind us our home waited, full of found family and hard-won peace. Around us the night held possibility instead of threat. I'd stopped running, stopped hiding, stopped being invisible. And in Luca Moretti's arms, I'd finally found where I belonged.